Alright, here's my strategy for making sure I don't have any burr. On my finest stone, and I've been gradually decreasing the amount of pressure I'm using and getting finer and finer on the stone. So when I get to that final stone, I'm doing my alternating edge leading strokes, and this is very, very fine, so it should be putting a very, very fine finish on the edge. And at the very end, I just do a couple strokes at a slightly higher angle to knock off any remaining teeny tiny burr. Super soft. And then I go to either denim or felt, and I give it a little bit of edge trailing just to clean it up just a little bit more. Get rid of any particles that might still be on there. And then I give a good healthy spritz to my stone so that I'm sharpening on pretty much just water. And I do just a couple more. I'll do that a couple times, and then I'll do a test to see if I have a burr. Before I get to the test, I'm going to talk about the foil burr. The reason why I avoid doing it this way is because there's a risk, the edge trailing is because there's a risk that you'll develop a foil burr. There are some applications where developing a foil burr is actually what you want to do. Like if you're doing a straight razor, you actually want to burnish the edge to make it a smoother shave. And you're using the plastic nature of the steel to kind of fill in the gaps and get rid of the teeth that are in the edge. But with a knife that you're using in the kitchen where it's going to be making hard board contact, you don't want to do that. Because as soon as that burnished plasticky edge, it will crumble as soon as it starts taking impacts. So now I've done that. I've done my whole sharpening routine. I've done my finishing strokes on my finest stone and a couple of passes edge trailing on my finest strops. And then I need to know if it's sharp, right? And if there's a burr. So you can check it with paper, of course. Should be able to generate nice curly cues with no sound. Should be able to cut curves without tearing the paper. Should even be able to cut the paper all the way in a circle without stopping your cut or breaking the paper. If the knife has a wire edge, it won't be able to do these tricks. You can do a paper towel. Cut right through the paper towel. You could do really, really fine rolling paper. Any of these are showing you that you don't have a wire edge. You could do toilet paper. It's not the greatest, but you know, it gets the point across. Tissue is really difficult. If you can cut tissue, then you definitely don't have a wire edge. Again, it's not great, but it does it. But none of these tests will tell you if you have a foil edge, because like this razor blade has a foil edge. It's meant to have a foil edge. So the only way that you really know if you get a foil edge is if you go and use it on the board, and it doesn't go away, it's nice and durable, then you don't have a foil edge. The other way that you can tell is if you were doing all of your final strokes edge leading. If you're doing all your final strokes edge leading, there's no chance of a foil edge because an edge leading stroke knocks the foil edge off. And a fine strop like this isn't enough to create another foil edge. Now, those guys that do the scientific research, the guy that's either from Australia or New Zealand and the guy that's behind Science of Sharp, I think one or the other of them says that actually once you get above like 4,000, 5,000 grit, it doesn't really matter. This is fine enough that you're not really creating that much of a burr when you're doing your forward stroke anymore. And you're not really creating that much of a foil edge when you're doing your edge trailing stroke. So it really matters when you're doing your if you're finishing on a middle grit stone. Like a lot of times for my work stones, I finish on Shapton Glass 2000. And just to show you how quickly you develop a burr on a stone like this, a fast synthetic stone, even in the 2000 grit range, one swipe is enough to create a burr on this knife that I'm pretty sure will make it so that it can no longer pass paper towel tests. It does it, but it's a lot more ragged. But just that one swipe and there is a burr that I can feel with my thumb. Come back the other way, and same thing, there's a burr on this side that I can feel with my thumb. So the edge leading stroke definitely creates a burr every time. Even on a super fine stone like this Hidoriyama, it's just not going to show up very much. So what I think you should do if you want to make sure that you don't have a burr is whichever stone you're finishing on, finish it with very light pressure. Extremely light pressure for your last couple of strokes. A few of them at a slightly higher angle. This gives you an extremely small little micro bevel right at the very apex that adds to your durability. And if you're still having issues, then try stropping with something that's very, very fine. I use stuff like this in between my coarser stones to also try and help minimize the burr reduction as I go along. This one is a rough leather. This one is a pasted leather. And this one is just a razor strop. So it's firm and shiny leather. But they're all going to have a little bit different effects on the edge. They're all going to have a little bit different effects on how it feels and different effects on durability. And it's all going to be small and slight once you get